But I do wonder, to what degree are they missing out on the opportunity to just think? And in the absence of that, I think you're always going to be filling your head with someone else's aha moments.
Do you think there are some specific communication style among successful people?
I think that successful people tend to be very curious. And curiosity to me is a wonderful attribute. In order to become curious, I realized this in myself. In order to become curious, it requires a level of self-confidence, because when you are worried about looking stupid, this was one of my great fears when I was younger. I didn't want to appear stupid. So if I was in a situation with people who knew more than I did about a topic, like let's say that they were good business people, or that they were really good in a particular sport that I wanted to be better at, I was always worried that if I asked a question that I would look stupid because I didn't know the answer. And that was a reflection of my own lack of self-confidence. So one of the things that I think is common with people who achieve great success in any field is that they arrive at a point where they can ask those types of questions, that they can be curious without worrying that they're going to look stupid, without worrying what other people might say in judgment of them. So that openness, that curiosity, that willingness to put yourself out there, I think are attributes of successful people from a communication perspective. You have to be willing to do things differently.
Thank you. When I read your books, I was aha moment. Really, for me, I loved your books because I had an aha moment for tell my audience this book. Do you think we need our aha moment experience?
It ties into something I've been thinking about a lot lately, which is I love technology, and I love what technology enables us to do. Like we were just talking about, that if your dream life is to be an entrepreneur, you can get online now and you can study famous entrepreneurs throughout history, and you can learn so much about these people, and it can inspire you. It can give you roadmaps for the future. The flip side to this is that that technological advantage that we have can turn into a massive disadvantage if we spend all of our time being mindlessly occupied by the device. And so that to me is one of the great risks, the great challenges. What I find is that the more time we are mindlessly occupied with the device, the less likely we are to have the aha moment. Sometimes what's required is take a walk in nature, whether it's walking along the beach or walking in the woods, just time on your own when you're quiet in the mind, you're surrounded by the splendor of nature, and see what pops into your head. To me, those are the opportunities where I get some of my greatest aha moments. I'll tell you one that was just life-changing for me, which is every expert started off knowing nothing about what they became an expert in. That is so empowering. It means that no matter where I'm at in my life, even if I know nothing about the thing that I want to become an expert in, every expert, from every Nobel Prize winning scientist to every unbelievable artist, creator, they all started off knowing nothing about what they eventually became an absolute world-renowned expert in. That means I can start knowing nothing, and I too can achieve that level of happiness, satisfaction, and competence in that chosen field. And that only came to me, Kelly, because I took some time and I was walking by the ocean and I was looking in tide pools at the little fish, and all of a sudden that thought came to me.
Yeah, me too. I do meditate and have a alone quiet time, and then let go all of my noise around me. I develop a technique of visualization. I fully understand what you want to say. Yeah.
I think the younger generation who has had these devices and access to information all the time. Like when I used to walk to school when I was a kid, I would be thinking all the time. Now, when I see kids walking to school, they all have their earbuds in and they're all listening to something, which, I mean, again, it can be great, but I do wonder to what degree are they missing out on the opportunity to just think? And in the absence of that, I think you're always going to be filling your head with someone else's aha moments.
Yeah, time to think. We need it.
Yeah.
Once again, some people look like they are good at finding PFE, but they are not financially successful. Why do you think that is?
You know, there's a lot of points along the journey where someone can fail. And, you know, I use fail as a very generic term because, like I said, the only real failure is if we stop. But I think some of the common pitfalls that I notice for people are that they get caught up in questioning whether this really is their purpose. There's so many different options out there that they struggle to move in the direction that they think they want to go because they're constantly being distracted by something else that might also be their purpose. And my suggestion for that would be, if you feel it really is your purpose and it's the life that you want to live, it's kind of like a new shirt. You have to try it on for a little while and see how it feels. And so try that new life on for a little while, see how it feels. And if it doesn't feel right, ask yourself, well, does it not feel right because I'm just getting used to it? Or does it not feel right because this really isn't my thing? And it's okay to try something and learn it isn't your thing and then change directions. But if you're constantly back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, it's very difficult to make a lot of good progress, kind of lose sight of their purpose or drop off of their purpose. I would say another one is that they get too distracted by everyone else's opinion. We talked about that a little earlier. And so your purpose only needs to make sense to one person in the entire world, and that is you. It's not about your parents. It's not even about your spouse or your kids defining for you what your purpose is. It's really up to you to define your own personal purpose and stay true to that. So that may be tough. We talked about culture, and different cultures, that can be harder than others, where people grow up in an environment where parents play a huge role in telling their children, this is what you're going to study in school, or this is the life path that you're going to take. And so I don't want to diminish the impact of that. But at the end of the day, you're the one who has to look in the mirror and say, am I living the life that I want to live? So be aware, are your decisions coming from your heart? Or are your decisions coming from the voices in your head that belong to other people? That can be a very useful tool.
I really think your message is clear. Everything we discuss something. It is about focusing on my purpose, being true to yourself and your voice.
Here's the thing. When we allow ourselves to be the most authentic version of ourselves, that's when we release our genius in the world. When we release our genius into the world, good things happen. And the beautiful thing about that, not only do we get to do what is our best contribution to the world, because it's our genius that we're releasing, when we do that, it inspires other people to be the best version of themselves also.
What are the common traits found in people who found their PFE and achieved their financial goals?
I would say one of the biggest common traits is a level of happiness and contentment. If you've never been to the beach, if you've never seen the ocean, for example, the first time that you experience the ocean, it is just mind-blowing, right? I think that's the same way with your purpose, that when you allow yourself to live it and you get to really experience it for that first time, it's like nothing you could have imagined. It's just so special. And I would say in the context of my books, it's 100% that. I never knew that growing up the way that I grew up and the challenges that I faced when I was in my late teens and my early 20s especially, and dealing with being very poor, I never thought to myself that there would come a moment when someone would say to me, thank you, you helped change my life. Never, ever did I think that I would have that experience. And so I think that's going to be the case with everyone who allows themselves to connect with and then live their purpose. It's going to open up a view to a world you couldn't have even imagined before. That no matter what someone's dream is, no matter what their purpose is, that they allow themselves to taste it, just to taste it at least one time. Because if they taste it one time, it's going to be so amazing that they're going to want to make that a regular part of their life. And I think that's one of the great tricks of the human experience, to give yourself the courage to try, even if it's just for one day, the life that you want to live. Because if you can embrace that courage and try it, it's going to give you the courage and the desire to have more of that every single day.
Most of the people live in the red race, just going to work 9 to 5. Then on the weekend, they rest over the sofa, feeling bored and anxious. How
Yeah.
do you want to advise them? And then what do you want to tell our audience who feels that way?
I would say I've been there. Certainly in my 20s, I remember going to work and looking at the clock on a Monday morning and thinking to myself, I wish I had some sort of magic device that I could press a button and I could fast forward to Friday at 5 o'clock so that I could get to the weekend when I could finally do the fun stuff. Once you've traveled in Africa, like we were talking about, once you've sailed on a boat for a year in the Caribbean, you'll find that you're less likely to be willing to fast forward through 5/7 of your life. I would say to someone who's in that position, do your very best to allow yourself to map out what your dream life looks like. And that might require you to set aside some fears that you have. That might require you to set aside just take some time and map out, what would your dream life look like? Whatever is your version of an amazing life, someone is out there living it. Learn everything you can about the people who are out there living that life that you want to live, and then imitate it and make it yours.